Water is the basic element of the nature. It covers 70% of the Earth's surface. Water needs to be replenished and circulated again so that it can perform and function well. Nature does this process called water cycle. There are 7 processes involved in water cycle. First is evaporation. Water at the surface absorbs heat energy from the sun and turns into vapor. Second is condensation. At the high altitude, the water vapors change into very tiny particles of the ice because of the low temperature. Third is sublimation. This is the process where ice directly converts into water vapors without converting into liquid water. Fourth is precipitation. The clouds pour down as precipitation due to wind or temperature change. Fifth is transpiration. The liquid water is turned into water vapor by the plants. Sixth is runoff. Water runs over the surface of the earth. This runoff combines to form channels and then rivers and end up into lakes, seas, and oceans. Seventh is infiltration. Some of water that precipitates does not run off into rivers and is absorbed by plant or gets evaporated, then moves deep into soil.
And these are the anthropogenic effects in our water environment. As said by Silver, no water, no life. No blue, no green. Did you know that 1/3 of food that leaves from farms are currently wasted or thrown away? Also, consumption of red meat and shelled nuts affects one water footprint. Adapting to a vegetarian lifestyle could reduce it by 1/3. Included also as an anthropogenic effect is our personal lifestyle. The way we use water for bath and for cleaning and also for other stuffs. Usage of fresh water plays a crucial role in our water environment. Domestically, it is used 8%, agriculturally 70%, while in industrial uses 22%. Also, did you know that 8 million tons of plastic goes within the ocean annually? And because of UV radiation, 51 trillion of its smaller particles are eaten by the marine life underwater. Sewage, pesticides, and fertilizers are also anthropogenic effect in our water environment. They have toxic substances that can affect the whole food web in marine life underwater.
An invasive species is an organism that causes ecological or economic harm in a new environment where it is not native. Invasive species can change the food web in an ecosystem by destroying or replacing native food sources. The invasive species may provide little to no food value for wildlife. Invasive species can also alter the abundance of diversity of species that are important habitat for native wildlife. Additionally, some invasive species are capable of changing conditions in an ecosystem, such as soil chemistry and intensity of wildfires.
Marine invasive species have a devastating impact on biodiversity, ecosystem, fisheries, human health, tourism, and coastal development. The annual environment losses caused by introduced pests in the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, South Africa, India, and Brazil have been calculated at over $100 billion. Addressing the problem of invasive alien species is urgent because the threat is growing daily and the economic and environmental impacts are severe. Aggressive species like the kudzu can quickly replace an ecosystem with the monoculture of just kudzu. Asian carp are fast-growing, aggressive, and adaptable fish that are outcompeting native fish species for food and habitat in much of the midsection of the United States. One way to stop invasive species effect on water is not releasing pets, as they pose an enormous threat to native ecosystems.
So let's talk about epigenetics. What is epigenetics? Epigenetics is the study of how your behavior and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. Unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change your DNA sequence, but they can change how your body reacts and reads the DNA sequence. So, how does an epigenetics work? Epigenetic changes affect gene expression in different ways, such as DNA methylation, histone modification, and non-coding RNA. In DNA methylation, it works by adding a chemical group to DNA. Typically, this group is added into specific places on the DNA where it blocks the protein attached to the DNA to read the gene. Next is the histone modification. DNA wraps around protein called histones. DNA wrapped tightly around histones cannot be accessed by protein that read the gene. Some genres are wrapped around the histones and are turned off, while some of the genes are wrapped around the histones and are turned on. Lastly is the non-coding RNA. Your DNA is used as an instruction for making and coding RNA. Coding RNA is used to make proteins. Non-coding RNA helps to control gene expression by attaching to code RNA, along with the certain proteins, to break down the coding RNA that if cannot be used to make proteins.
Your epigenetics change as you age, both as part of normal development and aging and in response to your behaviors and environment. Epigenetic changes begin before you are born. All your cells have the same genes but look and act differently. As you grow and develop, epigenetics help determine which function a cell will have. For example, whether it will become a heart cell, nerve cell, or skin cell. Your epigenetics changes throughout your life. Your epigenetics at birth is not the same as your epigenetics during childhood and adulthood. Not all epigenetic changes are permanent. Some epigenetic changes can be added or removed in response to changes in behavior or environment. Epigenetic changes can also affect your health in different ways. First is infections. Germs can change your epigenetics to weaken your immune system. This helps the germs to survive. Second is cancer. Certain mutations make you more likely to develop cancer. Likewise, some epigenetic changes increase your cancer risk. Last is nutrition during pregnancy. A pregnant woman's environment and behavior during pregnancy, such as whether she eats healthy food, can change the baby's epigenetics. Some of these changes can remain for decades and might make the child more likely to get certain diseases.